Today is Monday, October 14th, and this is the Curriculum Instruction Committee meeting for Dania Boone. In attendance is Julia Olafson,
Beverly Albright,
Preston McKnight,
Brett Cooper,
Aaron Spores.
and we have Mr. John Orm here. He's going to be given a presentation later on in the agenda today. So we're going to go ahead and give, hopefully, Mr. Steve Miller from the board some time to get here. We'll start with the first presentation on K-12 continuum for counseling services.
Okay, so we've been doing a lot of analytics and studying, where the district currently is, especially in the K-12 realm of school counseling, and there were really 4 identifiable areas to build out on. So social emotional development, which a component is social emotional learning, and there's been a lot of work going on in kind of a isolationist way. So we have the ADL piece, we have the work from Tom Steckert that Dr. Sincerapino brought forward last year. We have Alveus, we have school-wide positive behavior. So we wanted to make sure that we're beginning to have these conversations in a K-12 format. And so we built out a model where we have the school counselors representing in those 4 areas up and down the continuum on each one of those areas. Mr. Jim Towers is leading, so we put the assistant principals in lead roles in these situations. Mm-hmm. So Mr. Jim Towers is leading on social emotional development. Mr. Becker is leading on college career ready with his team of school counselors. Mr. Flanagan is leading on student transition, how we transition students between each grade level, also new students into the district, and also students returning from any kind of placement. And then Mr. Curtis Fleming is leading on the Suicide Prevention Task Force. We've talked about that a number of times in this committee, and now we have a team, and that group is supported by the school psychologist in the crisis management, trauma, what am I thinking of, Dr. Cooper? Trauma response. Thank you, trauma response. So those pieces, just kind of give you an update of where we are collectively with that. Some time was spent today in that work. As we had the in-service day this afternoon, those teams were together planning, and they're doing analysis for the whole year, designing for the whole year, and launching for next year to basically bring all those things under one umbrella in a more supportive way. So,
all right, and I know one of the now I can't think of words. One of the more targeted things you were hoping to do this year was some of those things that we're doing, especially with suicide prevention and stuff, bringing age appropriate work down to the middle school and then the elementary school. So that work is going forward.
Right. Yes, and so when you look at the people on those teams, we'll have some folks from the primary level, we have folks from the middle level, and folks from the high level on those teams. So that conversation reflects up and down when we talk about the continuum that way. So we're making sure all voices are represented because, high school counselors may not think, the way an elementary counselor would think, and so we make sure that piece is occurring.
Okay. Any questions? No. Okay. Would it be okay if we reviewed the handbooks real quick?
Yep.
Okay. Skipping down the list.
So you have a hard copy there, and then
Blue.
Yeah. Yep.
so there's a few things in there that you'll see that are highlighted in a light gray. Those are things like Mr. Worm's course that need to get final approval.
Right.
Listed on one of the open pages.
What?
It's page 5. So you'll see the dark colored course on page 5, the computer science discoveries, which we'll get to in a minute. That's in dark. That would go into the place of the light colored course, which is the technology innovation.
Right.
So that's why it's like lightened out.
Okay.
The format of it stayed the same with the exception of you see the course key in the top now. It's delineated by color, which means blue A is annually for the course, the yellow O is odd number years, and the red E is for even years.
All right.
So he's being generous because he really cleaned the book up because we had formatting problems, as you know, for a long time. So he did a lot of work to make it
I look
cleaner,
forward
more
to
streamlined.
having fewer corrections to offer.
So
God,
the other
I love
thing
your
is
correction.
definitely overlook and check the pathways.
Oh yeah.
There's been a number of people that looked it over, but we've had a number of AP courses change and come on, so I tried to make sure that we updated all of those, but in any case, if I missed anything.
Yeah, and with the pathways, I can't, I don't always know what to recommend to change, and so I'm glad that you guys are, I'm sure that you guys are going through it, and like I've said to Mr. McKnight in the past, as long as it's continuing to get better every year, that's what we're going for, right?
Yep.
All right. And what is your timeline that you would like to be ready to get?
So this would be November approval, or we need the...
So we'll November, not for a special voting meeting, for just okay.
Just regular. But the course change that we're going to hear tonight from John, that would need to be approved in October, so that's...
Right, okay. Regular meeting at the end of November. And Mr. Miller just arrived, so there are... We did this one and this one. They're the only ones we didn't vote on. And then we start there. Okay.
This is for you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Okay, and so we'll be putting I guess we can attach, once we have the approval for the new course, we'll be able to attach this to the committee of the whole in November, so everybody can offer questions and all that stuff.
If there's any major questions, we can put it back on for the work meeting in November.
Right, I appreciate you working with me to get it done early, just because there will be a significant change in the board, and then we'll have to completely reconstitute all the we might even not have committee meetings in December.
Okay.
So it'll be nice to have it ready for your rollout to the middle school, especially for the 8th graders coming into 9th grade.
Yep,
Right, and that's what I was hoping for. So I know it's a little early, but I appreciate it. Okay, so we're going back to number 2, interdistrict pre-apprentice.
So I can email these to you. I chose not to project them because we don't really have an audience tonight, but if you have this document in front of you, it's the ABC. We're proposing, we've had great success. A couple of folks have worked very hard on putting together and identifying a population of students who we feel we were underserving. These students would generally be students in the second half of their junior year and then their senior year, who were probably trade students, career-oriented students, hands-on learners who ultimately were kind of getting missed. And so we piloted one student at ABC, which is a pre-apprenticeship program, but it's a Association of Building and Contracting group, and they have 3 different branches, ABC Eastern, Keystone, and in the western part of the state. Who they are is a group that most of your trades associations, trade businesses, take their adult learners and send them there when they want them to become apprentices. Well, they have a program for high school level, pre-apprenticeship program. And so we have a student up there right now, and we scholarshiped him. It was at no cost to the district, which was terrific. And that's going very well. But we feel like this is an area of about 40 to 50 students potentially in the district who could benefit. Our proposal is to go forward just as we did with RAC on a dual enrollment partnership, where we could deliver the bulk of instruction with our teachers who would get dual enrollment certified, just as our teachers do with RAC, to deliver. There's a course of, I think it's 8 or 9 modules, which you can see on that slide that has the blue table. It's the second slide. And I know it's very tiny, so I'm going to email all this to you guys can go through it, these presentations at the end. So they have basically in a pre-apprenticeship, this table students to have the opportunity to go into any of seven different trades: carpentry, plumbing, HVAC, Aaron, you can jump in anytime on any of these. So there's a host of different trades that students can go into. It's much more cost effective than our partnership currently with the CTC.
I was just
Tech.
going to say, why can't, what's
Well,
different?
CTC does not really offer this pre-apprentice program. Dr. Cooper was at a superintendent meeting.
Okay.
We have leaned on the CTC for a number of years to provide a service point for us that they have not. So we went out and found a vendor and a partner who can at a fraction of the cost. You'll see it, one of the slides in here, I think it's slide, it's the fourth slide. They'll provide this at $616 per student. That's what it would cost us, not counting our instructors. Whatever our
Right.
teacher cost is, as we kind of repurpose and with reduction in class sizes or grade levels, enrollments below. So that's about the cost, minus power tools and hand tools, which we have reached out to the Education Foundation. They are willing to grant and underwrite a substantial amount of that. And we're looking at setting up a classroom that has a number of these functions in them. And then using our teachers to deliver, I think, all but two of the courses, rigging and materials handling, which is driving a forklift. We literally will have to send students up there for 3 days, 3 separate days, not in a row. And that would cost us, that's calculated in the $616 per student. So
Do we have space?
we do have space, yeah, and Aaron's been tasked with kind of putting this model together with his team. I mean, he can speak to where he thinks it would best fit. I can think of a number of spaces in the high school where it could fit.
If I can add, one of the things that we found with our students is we have a population of students that they get into that junior year and they've kind of fallen between students that thought that perhaps they were going to go to post-secondary school, whether it be 2-year or 4-year, kind of missed the 3-year program with the CTC, and now they're stuck. Like, okay, what am I going to do now? And also, although the CTC does have a couple 1-year programs, senior programs at the Career Center, most of them, by and large, the majority of the one is through Penn State Berks, which is their medical professions one, and it kind of goes through the CTC, but it's primarily done at the Berks campus. So this is kind of hitting those or catering these students here that kind of miss that. I said, okay, now I know I don't want to go to post-secondary school. What am I going to do now?
Now, is this going to damage our relationship with CTC?
That was my question.
To be honest,
No, I'm just saying, what's the
I don't know. I know
fallout?
that Mr. Kraft, I've had conversations with him. I know there's other superintendents that have had conversations with him about service points with this and how we can utilize or how can we better partner with them to better cater to these students. So I do sit on the CTC Superintendent's Advisory Council, and this was brought up at the last meeting by myself and another superintendent. And I did mention to him at that time that we were piloting a student with this program, so he's aware of it.
Well, and I would say this, that although I appreciate the relationship, okay, what we have been doing, and I talked to our counselors a great deal about this at the high school previously, is they would often, if a student didn't know what they wanted to do, sometimes, well, let's send them there. And that really isn't the model. The model out there it's highly technical. And we need to have kids who want to go there and want to be there, and who also get their first choice. So what we're tracking now, we'll be able to deliver this data for you over the next year, is how many of our first choice students who wanted to be in carpentry, for example, got that. If they didn't get that, did they get their second and third choice, and did they matriculate? We know, okay, we've done this data, we know that only 2 out of 3 of our kids who start in 10th grade finish in 12th grade. Okay, we spend $1 million there, $1 million a year. So we're looking at, we lose $330-some thousand in students who don't complete programming. So we reached out many times to the CTC about how can we don't expect every kid for it to work out for every student, but 33% of our kids are not getting through with the certification. The other thing is that we send students there in their 12th grade year and they don't achieve anything under the theory that they may go on another year at the CTC. So in essence, we're underwriting, with our taxpayer dollars, we're underwriting their adult enrollment program. It just doesn't make sense. And to combine that with the fact that they're not willing to then create programs like this to serve this population, because we talked about the medical professional group. Those are kids generally who want to be, either doctors or nurses. You'll see when I'm going to bring the next program online to you to discuss. It's going to be with RAC about being a medical technician. It's a different population of student, and we are right now just not serving them as well as we can. And so we feel we have the foremost obligation to our students in our community, and we do understand that there could be a rub, with CTC on some of this. But
I don't see this impacting our current students who, in their sophomore year, decide the CTC is the direction that I wish to go. Because these are the kids that are those halfway through the junior year, like, okay, what am I going to do?
So they wouldn't have been.
They wouldn't have had an
wouldn't have
option.
Had the option to go there anyway, so they're not really losing anything. I'm just saying, if we
Right.
were taking students away from them,
Right.
and then there's other students that we can't service, and then
Right.
they're going to be like, oh.
So the only ones that I would say may be impacted would be those students who decide to go to the CTC for that senior year only program.
Yeah.
But those programs are limited to primarily the medical
Which is
professionals,
what
Right.
we're talking
which
about.
is not what we're
Okay.
talking about.
And CTC offers a lot more options than this pilot program
Oh,
does.
many more.
So,
Many more.
and it shouldn't
Right.
impact those students at all.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, the other impact group is going to be the kids who go out there now for their second and third choice. But I don't feel comfortable when our students had to list 3 things but had no interest doing the third thing. But they wanted to
They
be a
had
carpenter,
those
now they're doing
three.
horticulture.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
I mean, we want them to get things that motivate them, inspire them. And if they're
That's
inspired
true.
to be a carpenter, then we should help support them be a carpenter.
Yeah.
That's what we're seeing. When that data finally
Right.
plays out,
That's the
Mr. Miller,
third.
I think we're going to see that's going to be the number. I mean, but we're going to prove it.
Question, where is ABC located?
There are 3 of them, but this group is up in Mount Joy, Manheim, right off of 283. The one that's in Eastern is down in Norristown, the Eastern ABC, but they don't offer this programming with the high school. They have some unique specificities to each one of them. So, but we're not really looking at sending kids up there, generally speaking. We're talking
Just
about...
for the 3 days?
Yeah, just the 3 days in a whole school year.
And we take care of the busing for that?
We will.
Okay.
We will. So, and if we're fortunate, we'll be able to get access money. There's some other ways to
Yeah,
go
yeah,
around
yeah.
that. So, the other point is this. We're always talking about, I always use the term blue ocean, but we're looking at revenue opportunity. So the one piece that you kind of bring up is that, does this really, undercut the CTC? Well, Ole has an ag science program with many kids in it from around the county, and they provide that. So those students don't go to CTC, they go to Ole. And this would be along that kind of line, because I think we could, if the CTC doesn't pick this up, which maybe they will, maybe this will inspire the competition, and they will, but we already know that there are several other superintendents in other districts who've inquired and would be willing to send students here, and it would be a revenue producer for us. We would make money.
Okay.
And do we have staff that is
Yeah,
interested
are
in?
you reusing
I know you said you're using staff we
Right.
have, but do they have
More to
the
come once we
interest?
have your approval to take the next step. We don't go too far down the road without having this conversation first, to see that, yes, you guys are interested in the idea.
You just say that to make me feel
I
better.
do, that's right. We really don't. We really run it by you first. So that's
All
kind
right.
of that overall program. We're
All
looking for
right.
a recommendation that you say, yes, go ahead, take the pilot step.
Do you have any questions before we vote on it? Do you have any questions?
Already asked my question.
I did too. Think we should send it on to the... I do too. All right. Okay, we will do that.
Preston's so convincing.
I absolutely do not need a microphone.
Okay, next, another program similar, another partnership program with RAC. As you know, we have a dual enrollment program. We're looking to pilot another opportunity with that group. And this one tags into 4 areas that, again, end with just a simple certification, not the full piece that you would end up with CTC. Going back to Dr. Cooper's point, students who know they want to be in the medical health field, they get in that program very early. So one of the things in this pilot program, it's another pre-apprentice style program, but as you know, the governor and others have, and the BCIU leads on Career Ready Berks as a manufacturing training hub, even at the high school level. And Hamburg really, Twinbau and Hamburg are the forerunners in this for different reasons. So we're looking to get in and serve our students in a similar fashion. These would be non-credit certification programs, unlike the dual enrollment or associate's program, which are credit-bearing. The next piece of it is, and I will send you this because you can click right on these links, but offerings in manufacturing and healthcare. Mr. Spores and a counselor went down to meet with two people. We used to meet with Jody Corbett. She was amazing. She has moved up in that system. So now the people who replaced her, that's who they met with. Medical assistant and pharmacy tech, which is not something that you can get at the CTC. Students will come out of that 15-week program making $25 an hour, with very high job placement according to RAC. So it's another opportunity for our students. Also, certified production technician, which has it's a base entry level for manufacturing. If you're going to go work at DECA and some of those groups, I also included for you the price range of these programs, which is $1,600 to $7,700. To give you a comparable element, it costs $7,700 to send students to CTC for 1 year. That's what our cost is. So these students turn around, and again, a senior group, a student who all of a sudden kind of is starting to think, man, I thought I wanted to go to college, but really probably not for me. I'm more a student who would like to work in this area. And I will show you, I didn't click in the other one, but so I apologize for this, but to segue back to ABC, there are 30 vendors in Berks County, 30 construction-oriented trades folks who partner with ABC, who take their students from the pre-apprentice program and hire them into an apprenticeship program. So, and I'll send that list to you as well for your review. But you see, certified production technician, you can see in that very small print, 200 hours, it's 50% theory, 50% hands-on. And they also have a smart automation operator technician, 195 hours. I'll send you the link so you can go into their catalog and get the explicit details of those programs. The next page has all those blue links. They are credit certificates where you, just like dual enrollment, you actually get college credits. They are much more invasive. There are some in conflict with the CTC. There are some we have to work through our memorandum of understanding with our own staff. For example, if they're going to be in accounting, we teach accounting. So our MOU on these things with dual enrollment, we'd have to look at that partnership piece.
So this and this other, I apologize
Okay.
for interrupting. So this list is things that we could get to after the pilot program is
Well, that's a
successful.
conversation for a later time. Just
I
want
see.
to inform you that these are opportunities.
In the tiniest font available on the computer. Okay.
Yes, correct.
All right.
So that price range is very similar to our dual enrollment for college credit at $99 to $189. But they have things like early childhood development. Some programs our kids
Yeah,
can't get.
and that is, yeah.
Multi-class programs?
Yes, they are. They'll be, they're anywhere from 9 to 30 credits in those programs. Like currently, and Ms. Albright's daughter's is a 60 credit general studies associate's program. So I don't think there's anything more than 30. And I looked through it pretty extensively. So those students we look to start their junior year if we went that way, but that's far off. I mean, we're a good year away from that, maybe 2, before we'd have that
A
conversation.
couple interesting things, network support and cyber defense.
Right.
And the program we have right now for getting an associate's through RAC, there is some cost that the parents pick up. This will be
Absolutely.
similar?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
I think when we look at the credit certifications, I think so. I
Okay.
think the non-credit would be something we balance against what we pay when kids go to the CTC.
Right.
And it's kind of just an offset kind of model.
Okay.
So that is that. We're looking for a recommendation from the committee on that.
Steve, do you have any other questions? Oh, Mr. Miller, excuse me.
Well, I guess the recommendation is just for the
To move ahead with the pilot?
yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Yes.
Yes, me too. And so we'll go ahead and make that recommendation. I would like to know if we could do something with if we can make a change to the agenda.
Sure.
We could do the new course
Yes,
next.
of
So,
course.
so Mr. Orm doesn't have to sit and listen to us any longer.
Mr. Orm, Mr. Orm, everybody has your proposal copy of it.
Yes.
So. Mr. Spores, Mr. Orm, you're up.
Is that okay?
Yeah, Mr. Orr came to me and he wanted to replace one of the tech ed classes that is kind of antiquated, and he wanted to replace it with a open class for the computer science, because right now the computer science class that we have is an AP level course, programming in Python, which is one of the higher level programming pieces that you could use. So we currently don't have any building blocks to get to that point. Kids just start taking that computer
They go
science
in
class.
cold.
Yes.
Okay.
So this would kind of be an introductory course to, get kids a little bit understanding of what it takes, what it looks like. Sometimes kids sign up for stuff reading the paragraph. They don't quite know what it is until you do it. So this would be like a discoveries level course. That's the title. And then eventually students would take the principles, computer programming principles. That would be the next level. And then it would go into A. And then eventually next year we would like to propose adding AP Computer Science B
Right.
for a 4-year articulation in computer programming and computer science.
Yeah.
Ms.
I-
Moore can talk more about the technical of what it actually is. That's for next year. That would be the other AP Computer Science course. And we have A right now.
They might have made some changes to what it actually covers. Yeah, I think they got rid of it and reworked it. Yeah. So, Your Honor, unless you would just want us, if we have any questions, I don't know, if you have any more to add to what Mr. Spores has said.
No, my proposal was based on attending a conference this summer on computer science for all, and women, minority, special education students are like the target audience.
I see.
To get everyone K to 12. Pennsylvania Department of Education has some initiatives in that regard. There were a lot of school districts represented at this conference. So I came back kind of excited, and I realized that we had this kind of deficit.
Yeah.
We're offering the AP courses, but nothing prior to that.
Not the gateway. Yeah. And you'll have a curriculum to start with. It'll evolve over the next couple of years as like new as more, I guess, languages and different tools become more commonly used. You'll add more to that. If I don't know if I'm actually putting
I
this.
think in the handout is the course outline.
Uh-huh.
And you'll see that there's different topics. So it's not just a programming course. There's physical computing where we would do Internet of Things.
Oh, okay.
Devices, read sensors. We have Lego robots that we will be able to program.
Okay.
So we're utilizing some of the things we were using in the course that we're asking to get rid of in this course.
And will you be doing any like microcomputing, like Raspberry Pi, Arduino, stuff like that?
We do have the Raspberry Pis as well. Yes.
Okay. All right. Those actually are useful to get people interested in doing stuff, because you can do things kind of. By the end of a class, you can actually have something that you've made happen, and so that's kind of nice for kids to see something that they've created, like just in a short period of time. I think that's cool. And I know we've talked about this before, that previous class, we didn't have anything beyond the two. Do we have two AP classes in computing, right? There was nothing to lead into them. So I know we've talked about that before. And now there will be no more. There will be no more prerequisites for this. You just to enable more people to feel that they can come in and just jump in and start.
Yeah.
Okay.
there's No prior.
I think we should.
It says successful completion of Algebra 1.
That was the old one.
That's the old course that's going out.
Yeah, that's the one that's the one that's leaving. the one with the XXX, that's to be, for the course number, that's the new discussion. And, $900 for that. I wanted to ask you a question. The student interest data, is that something we do for every class that we're going to be adding, or is that a new metric that you're providing us? Because this is the first class we've added in a while.
Yeah, so it's important to know how many kids really.
I know it absolutely is, and I just think it's good that information was provided for us.
I would like to take credit for it, but I was told it would be a good idea.
by certain precedents that shall not be named.
So, John.
No, it's a great idea. I think it's hard to gauge with teenagers
Yeah.
what they want and what they don't want. So it's good that.
Well, the master schedule is running efficiently right now, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that adding stuff would make it more efficient, so we have to replace what we have.
I-
It's important to know how many kids would, as opposed to the innovations course, how many kids would be interested in this one. So we're definitely over where the innovations course currently is.
Right. Because the old one was kind of obsolete, but they covered it.
Okay, so this one's just basically the same thing, but up to date.
Yep. And
So we modified it. We didn't know.
$900 a year. That's for the whole class. There's no per student for a book or anything like that. No need for any of that stuff. We good with adding that to next year's calendar? Not calendar. To next year's catalog?
Yeah, that's why not.
I don't either. You good with that?
Yeah, I'm okay.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Told you it's a big agenda tonight, and it is.
I know.
So, Dr. Sincerapino. Blazer Virtual Academy rollout 3-year plan. This is all Dr. Sincerapino's work. I gave I gave him notes. I basically put your presentation in the notes form.
No worries. So, just kind of to catch you up where we are, I know we've talked about this I feel like 100 times, but just to kind of bring us back to where are we. Mr. Matz and I met with 5 different vendors, and we used a 12-factor comparison. That was really, and then we were also focused on controlling any additional costs. So a lot of times when you have a virtual offering for kids, it requires a printer and a laptop and all of those things. So it was really important for us that whatever vendor we went with could be fully online and was fully iPad compatible. We've done some talking to folks around us, and you know that we have the MOU with the EDA around that. So that's done. At the end of the day, it appears to us that Edgenuity is the one vendor that seems to meet all 12 of the criteria we were looking for. It was the only one that was fully functional on the iPad, and we did actually ask for sandbox accounts so that we could make sure it really did do what they said it was going to do. Edgenuity is the only one that really did. It's fully online, so it doesn't require students to print anything, scan anything, nothing that they can't already do with their iPad, which we're providing for them anyway.
So, and there were deficiencies in the other 4 vendors?
Yeah.
Okay.
And really, most specifically, they were either super boring as an interface,
I see.
or pieces of it didn't work real well on the iPad. So if they had a video, maybe it didn't play really well, or one of them required students every time they wanted to use a video component to log into another account versus just being able to click, go watch the video, and it would play.
Okay.
So, Edgenuity also recently purchased Compass, which we currently contract with for some supports at the high school and at the middle school. So
Did you say we currently use them, or we are online to
No, we use them.
integrate? Okay.
So they've been bought. So kind of the objective of all of this for next year is to get everything under one umbrella.
So we can get it all from one vendor. Okay.
One vendor, one place for kids to go. They do have a site license option, which the other folks did not. The other folks had purely buy a course per kid. The site license option gives us some flexibility in the number of seats we have and how
Yeah.
we choose to use them, versus buying a kid a course and then the kid decides 3 weeks later they don't want to do it, and now we can't reuse that seat.
Okay.
It's also the vendor that everyone is using in Berks County pretty much, so there's going to be some power in be able to fully participate in any events, clubs, athletics, extracurricular offerings. Right now, our BOL students can do that, but any students that choose to go to one of the more kind of traditional things that we think about as cybers are not able to participate as Danielson students. They could participate in BCTC, they could participate in these internship opportunities that we've spoken about. We can retain access to transportation and food services for them, so if there's a student who wants to do this but maybe doesn't have internet at home, we know that we can provide a space for them, we can provide transportation to them. If they're a student that's sort of food dependent on us, they can come to school, use the internet at school, still do this, and have access to those food services too. And we also know that there's some legislation floating around out there. Some of it around if you offer this kind of a program to schools, to students, and they choose to go elsewhere, we get their money because it just becomes like you chose to go to Catholic school. And then there's some new legislation that's pending proposal that requires us to offer a virtual program and then give them some other choices. So in how we've structured this, we would be compliant with either of those legislations as they sit kind of at this point. You know, all things are really able to change, but at this point. So moving into next year, as I said, we're really looking to envelop all of our virtual offerings into one platform and one entity. We think that maybe with the exception of Alex, this does that. In our virtual academy, we would bring back our BOL students who are already actually using Edgenuity, so it won't look any different for them. Our credit recovery students can participate using this rather than doing Compass separately. Compass is part of this. We believe we can support the algebra kids. We currently, right now, have about 10 students at the high school who we purchase courses for their GIPs. This would allow us to offer those kinds of things to those students within the site license. And summer school is currently paid for by families, but it's also something we could pull into this and perhaps offset the cost at some level, probably not a bunch. So right now, we know, like as of today, well, actually as of last Friday, there were 76 students K-12 enrolled in those more traditional cybers. So that does not include the BOL students. It's just purely the cybers. And 50 of those students, as of last Friday, were students in grades 9 to 12. So we'd like to spend next year, after we bring back those students that are in courses that are sort of ours anyway, with the exception of BOL, we'd like to have some time next year to meet with those students. Why are you going? Here's what we can offer, bring them back, those kinds of pieces and parts. But we know that that's a sell job because they've chosen to go to a cyber for a particular reason. So we're going to take some time next year and try to get those students back. I did break it down a little bit just to see how many kids were there. There's an interesting group of kids who are current 10th graders. There's a big group of those kids. So that's just interesting to me when you look at the data that we're like at 8, 9 kids everywhere else and like 19 kids in 10th grade. So it's kind of interesting. And they're probably there for all kinds of reasons, but that's why I have the conversation. We know that the site license costs us about $35,000. We know that BOL this past year we spent $85,000. We spent another $3,000 for the GIP courses and another $5,000 just for the high school piece of the Compass site license, which would then now be part of that Edgenuity site license. So when we look at those, it looks like there's $58,000-ish to save in doing this next year and bringing this forward just in what we have in-house. When you start to extrapolate that out and consider the other costs associated with it, you have that ongoing $35,000 expense, the ongoing savings of those BOL students, and then if we can get students back with those other cybers, we can save between $40,000 and $80,000 additionally a year. The low end of that being that 4 of those students who come back are regular education students. The high end of that being 4 of those students are special education students. But we have to remember that that $80,000 doesn't include what it could potentially cost us in services. So once we send those students to cyber, all of those services become cyber's job, which is why we pay more for them to go. So that's sort of a ballpark figure. And we'd like to look to return about 4 of those students a year as we roll out. So that cost just over time becomes sort of the same cost savings. We've talked about moving into this like year 3. What are some options for our high school students? They offer some AP courses that we don't currently offer. They offer some language opportunities that we don't currently offer. So are there other ways to use this with our broader student population? And again, if you've got the site license, you've got 1,200 seats that you can use. So are there other ways to use this as we move into not 2 years from now? And again, those cost savings just continue to kind of mount over time. And then finally moving into like the last year of this, what does it look like in middle school? So as our now middle school students are comfortable, they have had the one-to-one devices a couple of years in their hands. What does this look like at the middle level? So we've got it up and rolling and working well at the high school level. How do we roll it then down to the middle school level? And in sort of the same way, bring back those BOL students first and then see where we're at. We don't have quite as many middle school and late elementary school students that are doing cyber. So it definitely seems to be a high school piece to attack first. So that's where we are with that as of today. So I guess what we need from the committee tonight here is, do we want to continue moving forward with implementation of this into next school year? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think it'd be best to honestly to have this go forward. This is my personal opinion because of the changes in law in the pipeline. They might never come to fruition, but it'd be a lot better if those changes that either require us to have it or is a financial benefit to us for students that that we would get to keep more of our money by having our own program. And I know that that's not the primary reason to have it, but that was why Dr. Ciancerpino kind of went, full bore looking for a real solution that we can put in place soon. And I think that we found one. Either way, it either enables us to either stay compliant if it becomes a requirement, or to keep more money in house if the changes to the funding policy for if we have our own cyber school option, less money leaves for students who choose to be in a different cyber school. For those 2 reasons, I think that going forward is important, and I think that she's done good work to kind of narrow down which one we need to use.
I definitely agree that it's a good idea. I guess questions.
Yep.
Site license is 1,200 seats.
1,200. Yeah.
How many do we anticipate using the first?
So I kind of did the math, and if we purchase the courses individually, it costs us between $300 and $350 per course.
Yeah.
So, and that is if you decide to go for 3 weeks and leave, and then Kevin decides to 3 weeks later that he wants to go, that's now $600 for the same course. For the site license, we paid for it. So I did the math. It doesn't take long.
What is it?
So a typical kid is taking their full course load at BOL. So $300 a course times 7 courses, it's $2,100. It doesn't take long to be close to that $35,000. The $35,000 gives us a little bit of flexibility in that it allows us to program for the GIE students. It may also allow us to program for, and it will also allow us to program for those students who are currently using Compass, because we'll have purchased that as part of the site license. So there are 130 students right now using Compass, just in the algebra support course, and there are another, at this point today, 25 students who are enrolled in some kind of credit.
So you think we might be able to fold the cost of those?
Yeah, you will.
Oh, yeah.
Of those students that already need to use a Compass product
Yep.
in the classroom setting
Yeah,
into
the
that
fallback
cost.
The fallback cost between Compass and other things is about $15,000 to $18,000. So now we're talking about really, Dr. Champion's number 17,000 to go that way. So, and we will cover that off the BOL side.
So,
Yeah,
but I do understand what Mr. Miller is saying, that, even when we look at the number of kids that we have that are using a different cyber option, that's scaled pretty high for, even for how many kids we have in the district. But if the, yeah, but if that's, I do appreciate the fact that doing it that way would mean that, we don't have to be constantly changing what we owe depending on who's dropping out and who's adding. And
The other side is BOL doesn't just charge us the
that's
$300. I mean, they build their profit model in there too, which is almost double that. So
For the high
It's
school kids
substantial.
in DOL last year, we paid $85,000. So, and we actually paid more than that. We paid like $100,000 and some thousand dollars to DOL for all of our kids, just in tuition. So I didn't even tag in how much we get charged in fees and
right.
thanks for playing with us.
Would you be able to recover most of that then?
Well, you're recovering
about 60.
about,
Yes.
35,000 versus the 85 we're sending them.
Plus the Compass.
So the entire 85, that's right, I meant the entire
Yes.
85,000 is,
Yes.
But then we're spending 35, right?
No, the potential cost savings for next year is close to $60,000.
I see.
Plus, are the students paying anything?
No,
Paying anything?
no.
It's just pure cost savings. It just drops right down.
It's,
So $35,000 is the top number. How many students?
That's we have over 1,200.
And how many do you have now?
We have 10 students currently enrolled in BOL. Actually, we have 11, and 9 of them are high school students.
You need 17 to break net.
Well, and then
2,100.
And then you have 130 using Compass, and another, you have 130
Oh, wow.
using Compass, and you have another 25 today enrolled in credit recovery, and another 10 students with GIP requirements. that
Requirements,
are
yeah.
Folded into this, so.
Mm-hmm.
it's one of the items here, it says that the Danbury teachers aren't the teacher of record, they will be expected to facilitate.
So, here's how that works. Then it doesn't become another prep for our teachers. So, how it will work is really, it's a fully asynchronous program. So kids can do it here, they can do it at home. They might,
The other, some kids won't be able to do that.
right, some kids won't, and so we may have to bring them back and give them, some support here. Currently, that looks like, as Erin and I have talked about it, it looks really almost like a study hall, but a strategically covered study hall, so that first period, perhaps there's a math teacher. It may not be the same math teacher every day, but there's a math teacher, a language arts teacher, a science teacher, social studies teacher. That's their study hall coverage, which they have. And then what we can get out to our students is there's a parent. If you need somebody to help, you can come in and get a little bit of help. Their teachers, if they are the teacher of record, their teachers do all the planning, all the grading. They're available from 7 in the morning until 11 o'clock at night to provide help and support for students online.
So they keep track to see if they're falling behind.
They
Yes.
do all of that. They've got a really nice dashboard. I think, obviously we're going to have to do some keeping up. Right now, our counselors do that. And actually, right now, the teacher of record sends an email that says, hey, Johnny isn't completing work. I haven't seen or heard from him in 3 days. Can
What's the
somebody
deal?
follow up? We make a phone call. We've done, in those.
And that falls to guidance right now?
Right now.
Okay.
And these students would have a counselor. So they would be our students. They would be
Sure.
assigned to a counselor as if they were
Mm-hmm.
in their building. Now, there are obviously some pieces and parts that we need to continue to work out. It needs a handle.
Yeah, what I was wondering, like, I know we have a memorandum with DVEA having to do with this. I mean, there could be like unforeseen wrinkles. I'm assuming that they would be willing and we would be open to like revisiting the memorandum if it's really unworkable. If it has to be, I mean,
The current contract, which I had some questions on that.
The memorandums,
It's good.
it's pretty solid.
Okay, fair enough.
And just
Flexibilities with this.
And just to weigh in, so Mr. Miller, the credit recovery that we do at the high school is just as Dr. Sincerapino described. We currently have content area teachers in there through those periods, okay? So kids go down there when they're recovering their credit. Now in a math course, there's an algebra teacher or a math teacher there. There's a science. So throughout the day, it kind of works the way she's describing as it would. So this is already a model in place, and that's something to stretch. Currently, our school counselors handle those students at BOL, so that's their common counselor. And same with IEP. You'd have those people would be on the IEP caseload of those special ed teachers. So,
All right.
And our memorandum covers it. There's something, we just appended the old memorandum to the back of the contract. It has the old dates on it. So I didn't get that. I have to read through it. Do we reference new dates?
The memorandum was signed on May of 18.
Yeah, I remember. It was last year.
That's when it was attached back to the contract. It's the only language that was not embedded in this contract.
But
It's
it's-
consent agreement.
Okay, but it had like an end date on it. Not-
No, I didn't. I actually didn't
but it
think
had
it
a
did.
Duration or something.
But I mean,
I just got
that's
it
not.
quickly.
That's if it is something that negotiations need to look at, they can look at it. But that I don't. I guess
That was the only memorandum that carried forward to this, all the rest of the pending.
Oh, because it was so late in the contract period.
Correct.
I see. All right. Okay. Do you have any questions about the?
I already said it. Yeah, the whole board got it.
The savings projections are in there.
Good. Good.
In the PowerPoint.
I agree with our guest, Mr. Strobel, that it is kind of money-wise, it kind of works out to be a no-brainer. That it.
The offsetting benefits benefit the students, there's better education, it's easier for them, we can provide more information, like there are students.
And I think that those kids are already, the BOL students are not totally disconnected from us yet. And so
Right.
it's a nice group to start with because they still are
Yep.
a little tied back. So before we can talk about
Getting-
people who
yeah.
have said, I'm good.
Isn't there a dollar savings too when you get them back? I mean, is there money we send out now, kids that are going to cyber school?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the part that you had missed was that first conversation with BOL. The second part that Dr. Sincerapino talked about was bringing, between let's say 4 kids a year come back, and we're going to, at $60,000 a year in a reoccurring number because you take, I think 11 and 20 are our two numbers. Of 2 and 2 are IEPs, and so anyway, you're looking at that number, and that's reoccurring every year. Every year. So-
I guess the new legislation too, if you have a
Right.
program, you get recovery from the
Right.
kids that are
Right.
choosing not
And then the other thing is too, how does this compare, like, to the carrot? It's such a great carrot, and again, I apologize for this in the beginning. I mean, it's a big carrot, and people go, why would I go over here after with that?
That's
I
our goal.
don't know, that's the idea behind it.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's financial reasons, right? Let's get our students back. There's a good kid reason to get them back. Let's get them back involved in their school and their community. The other thing that from my personal experience is that those high school kids who are choosing that kind of do have a bent that they want to be back, but they don't have the option to come back, but they want kind of ability to go to prom, play on the football team, but they can't kind of marry those two.
And some kids that are doing cyber for a while, when they get to the high school level, they do decide to come back. But for some kids, the jump is it's a little bit too insurmountable. The change, and so it makes it nice if at least if there is that continuity. There's I know there are some, like you said, there are some kids that we've got that they still take part in band or they still take part in a sport.
So you have to let them have.
Yeah, and it's nice. It's nice if the separation's a little gauzier, for the kids especially. Yeah. We have to vote to send this forward, Mr. Miller and Ms. Albright, and for me too. So.
It's like I think what confused me is that it was written under the last contract. It's,
This is the one that was partnered with bringing.
Oh, you were
the
just
Encores
reading
back.
through it?
Yeah.
Okay,
That was bringing the Encore teachers back.
right. Okay, and
All right.
what's
One-
next?
one more.
Social studies, right?
Yes, civics. So very, very quickly, guys, last one of the night. You should all have the document that. So the curriculum mapping, on a quick update, is going very well. We've had our second session. But one of the things that came out of, we did the 4 core areas, science, English language arts, and math. Very easy, very clean. Social studies, we ran into a little hiccup because of Act 35 and the new civics
Requirement.
assessment requirement piece. So that group took a good look at what they were doing, which is the right thing to do, and they examined it, and they came up with a recommendation that really they should change the scope and sequence of how they're teaching it. So it's not that there's essentially new learnings, it's just reorganizing the learnings that are occurring. However, there will be some material cost by moving some courses into different spaces. So there's money set in there's money that has been budgeted from Mr. Hurley's budget last year around some social studies things. It's not going to be an outlay beyond what we've already had budgeted for new materials, but just be aware that there's a change. This is their recommendation. I support this recommendation. And we could have done a number of things on Act 35 and the civics assessment. We could have written our own and sent that to the state for approval. We think this is a much cleaner way to go. The U.S. Citizenship test is clean and easy. So the thing we'll have to decide as a group is where to administer it, what grade is the best. Anywhere between, I think, grade 7 and 12, you can do it. So we'll see what happens.
And do the course recommendations, these are the basic courses? I mean, like, different kids have like different AP requirements like shoved in there instead of.
Right, so they're in lieu of courses.
So at 9th or 10th or 11th grade, I think you can also take European history instead of any of
You
those.
can, in
Is
ninth
that right?
grade, you can take AP Human Geography in lieu
Yeah.
of, and you can take AP European in lieu of in ninth. 10th grade, that was not the case. 10th grade, you can take AP US History.
AP.
Right.
Yeah.
Could in lieu of those courses in 10th or 11th.
Okay,
Right.
and then in 12th grade,
AP Gov.
AP Gov.
Right.
Okay, so just so you know, and actually that kind of works out, I guess. Except the only thing is that some of that world history stuff might get lost if a kid takes human geography, I guess. But an AP kid is already. It's not as much because you are covering the world in 11th grade.
Well, and you have global in 7th and you have global in
Yeah.
9th.
Is the when we say US 2 and the world in 11th grade, is that like a World War? Is that the Depression?
It's the
Depression.
20th century and America's place in it.
All right. Okay.
question in 12th grade, that were economics is where we slotted 12th grade, and still taking AP classes on the history of economics.
Yeah, and right now we're a little disjointed on the economic side, and that's true of most school districts. And so the recommendation out of this group was, in order to make sure that our students are on the citizenship lean the right way by 12th grade for sure, that they're going to do economics in the first and fourth quarter, and then would have the political science in the second and third, and enough time to take that assessment piece. So I just want to add that in there for your edification. Yeah, there's a potential for now.
And
They added that personal economics to Madison schedule to make it work, I think.
And we've added it into the health course where we have the personal financial piece
Okay, is that what it
is,
is? Okay,
is
yeah.
happening in health.
Yeah,
And that was
yeah.
Mr. Flanagan presented that last year, if you guys recall, in the spring, I believe it was.
And some of having some of the economics in 12th grade, I thought that the way that you were thinking about it is that if you were an AP government student, you'd be covering in the fourth quarter because you've already taken your exam, right?
Right, that's what Sue said. The issue here also, we're talking about macroeconomics, we're not talking about personal economics. So just, again, to delineate, the personal economics piece, we kind of thought a long time where to put
Yeah,
that.
financial literacy, I guess,
Right,
is the
financial
difference.
literacy,
Yeah,
but
right.
into health class.
And I'm glad Mr. Miller
that's a
brought
lot
that
of
up
issues.
because I was thinking about that too, and I'm glad you reminded us of the difference. Yeah.
So that's not what they put in.
So this, if you approve this, we need a recommendation for you to approve this scope and sequence to go forward. So we can continue to do that mapping, or go back to where we were on the maps.
Does it involve a lot of do we have to do a lot of change of resources, either textbook
The
or
big resource
electronic?
change is going to come in the 6th, 7th grade year, where they used to do 2 years of geography, and Mr. Hurley could probably speak better to it from his days in the middle school, but they've been wanting to make this adjustment for some time, according to them.
So that
they were
was-
overbaking the geography a little bit.
So those were resources that we were already wanting to provide. Anyway, some changing.
Hemisphere and Western Hemisphere different years, so this clearly was something that they wanted to do for a while.
Okay. Are we going to try to push a little bit of electronic resources
Absolutely.
for them? I know that it might not be available for everything.
We're pushing more than a little bit. We were having very vigorous conversations in these meetings, and going forward. So
Fair.
it's underway. The conversation is happening.
So but 6th and 7th grade
That's
is
the big
where the
material change.
at least immediately.
Yes.
Yeah, I got it.
Yep. And this puts us, by the way, in a scope and sequence with a national recommendation, and puts us in line with what I consider other high-flying states. New York, Connecticut are forerunners in education, as well as Pennsylvania. So this is more of a alignment piece as well.
All right. Act 35. When did that go into effect?
Well,
You know?
the kids in 10th grade have to pass this test. So our current is that 2021?
2021, class of 2021.
Have to pass it before they get out here.
2022.
Yeah. Yes. Well, they don't technically have to pass it, but they have to take it. They have to take it. And special ed students do not have to pass it or take it. So I
That
I
right,
can send
Ken?
you that.
That's not right. That's 2021, right?
2022.
2022.
2020 is
21, 22.
2021 is my daughter's date. Never mind. I'm sorry.
I can send you guys the
Last year
active
was
year.
19.
What?
Last year was the 19.
Yeah, I didn't have any kid in that class, so. All right.
That's it.
So, sorry, I keep going to you first, Mr. Miller. I'm sorry.
Why do
Is
you do
it?
that?
Why do I do that? I don't know. Yeah. Are you good with the change?
I
Are you good with the change?
Yeah.
I am as well.
Okay.
Is that it?
One more little thing just for everybody's edification.
Sure.
I feel like it's been like a long-standing agenda. We now say the comprehensive plan was approved by the
Yes.
state on the first read, so I'm taking that as a little bit of
Comprehensive plan is approved. Yay. All right.
I did send all board members the presentations from tonight in your email. So
Yeah, I saw that
I
came
read
across.
through it completely. in its entirety.
I skimmed it.
Beginning of 2021, they have to, the school entity has to administer it.
Yeah.
All right.
Have to sit for 2021.
Okay.
We just have to give it to them.
Right.
Let's strive for passing. I know it's rough. It's not if the
It is going to be a middle school.
citizenship
You got to look at it.
the citizenship test is not overly easy.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It is not. It's rote memorization type stuff.
All right, I think I'm going to call this meeting,
Okay.
and it is 7:05 ish maybe, and so yeah, we will be adjourned.